Time for another year-end wrap-up. 2022 has been an absolutely crazy year, both for here and in general, as we all know by this point. Um, it's last year we did a whole lot of traveling. We went all over the country between going to visiting different reptile places and going to see different people for like the spooktacular videos in October. We went shark diving. We went to Yellowstone to see and track wolves. We visited a bunch of amazing places out in the Midwest. We checked out Brian Barczyk's zoo and all that other stuff. But this year, because of the move, so in November of last year, we closed on this property. And I know there are quite a few people that have joined on since then, but I made a whole little series about like the move that essentially really didn't start taking place until the middle of December. And as y'all know at this point, I'm from Colorado, so Colorado winters, as well as the area that I moved to, is one of the coldest places in the United States, period. And it even tracks with some parts of Alaska too. So moving a bunch of, tropical reptiles in the middle of winter in Colorado was quite an exhaustive thing. And it wasn't until May that we officially sold our house in Denver and were done entirely moving. Most of the animals had moved by about March, the last of which were the tortoises. And that was just a whole thing, very exhaustive. So once we were actually established and moved here, there was essentially infrastructure building. That was kind of the name of the game for this year, was trying to build infrastructure as well as dedicate more time to actually being a content creator and animal educator. And I think I did a okay job doing that. So, the infrastructure. So we had to deal with 3 different buildings, as well as now dealing with an outdoor pond, a well, and septic system that was all new to me because I've been on city water and plumbing my whole life. Dealing with how cold it is in the winter, dealing with how hot it is in the summer, and being inside of like a steel building that's this giant building. And then dealing with the 2 other different things, and it's been absolutely crazy to where like a power line got cut, so I didn't have even running water because the power to my pump got cut for 2 days. So it's just been absolutely crazy. But I like to think that we're moving trucking right along. I've now started to slowly switch over to almost nothing but much larger racks, to like the large 74 quarts and Christmas tree tubs, to moving to actual enclosures, and I'm moving away from as many small racks as I physically can, so that way I'm not a total hypocrite when I talk in my videos about how they need to be in enclosures. And from that point, I think it's going pretty well. And then when I talk about moving over to the from infrastructure to the content creator and animal educator. So this year has also been kind of a year of building up relationships. I've now started to build a better relationship with some of the reptile people in parts of southern Colorado, as opposed to Denver and northern Colorado, where I spent, my formative years, as well as coming up into the reptile hobby. That's where I was, obviously. So I started to build a relationship with people down here in southern Colorado, essentially from Colorado Springs down, which is silly because geographically Colorado Springs is like dead center Colorado, which has been really cool. As well as I got to meet several new people from the industry. Every year I try to meet more and more. This year we got to meet, the renowned animal and more specifically reptile educator, Lori Torini. She was on one of our podcasts. And as we know, she's done a whole lot of really cool and really amazing stuff as far as keeping animal goes and learning about animal behavior and animal and reptile intelligence and a bunch of really cool stuff like that. And in doing so, I ended up kind of getting roped into what is essentially now taking off between myself, Lori, and Troy Bumgarner, who is a keeper at a zoo here in Colorado, who we are now starting a group called Colorado Reptile Educators, which we are going to essentially try to take more Lori and Troy, and then other educators absolutely are welcome to join in and do stuff as well. But it's definitely being spearheaded by the 3 of us, mainly Lori, to essentially take reptile keeping a step up in the hobby. So as we all know, there's a lot of back and forth when it comes to reptile keeping and husbandry and welfare and all these hot button words and conversations. But it can't be ignored that there is a lot of very antiquated, out of date information and practices in keeping reptiles in this country. So what we want to do is take areas of knowledge and expertise when it comes to building up animal behavior and doing different things when it comes to more specific species needs and lighting and nutrition and all these other aspects, and bring them to light and do workshops and presentations both at Reptile Expos but in individual workshops and presentations and standalone things to share with the reptile keeping community in Colorado to raise us up again. So that's been really fun. We are now, so this is December 31st. This is coming out, so it's the end of the year. Beginning next year, and in fact, I think in 2 weeks, we're having our very first workshop in Colorado Springs, and we're looking in other areas in the Denver area to do standalone workshops as well. So if anyone in Colorado is watching this, although I think most of the people viewing this are either in Denver or out of state, if anybody wants to come and check out these workshops, Lori's presenting, Tori's presenting, I'm presenting, we're having a bunch of really cool stuff that we're planning on starting to roll out and build to see what people would like to see. And then that's been really, really fun. I've been trying to up the ante as far as the quality of my videos go. I like to think that I'm doing a pretty good job, and we're going to be continue to try to push that. I know I'm definitely better suited for longer formats, so I'm going to try to keep this video definitely shorter, but I'm trying to do more of like a shorts kind of thing for YouTube Shorts, as well as throwing it out to other platforms to try to bring in more people. I always love hearing ideas from you guys, and I like to think that I'm also trying to get on, actually working on those ideas and being able to show them a little bit more quickly. I'm trying to extend out contacts to try to get more information and do more things when it comes to other reptile keepers who are keeping species outside of myself, so I can start to actually do more videos about, say, larger species of snakes or different species of lizard, like monitor lizard or even crocodilians. One of these days, it's just been very busy and very chaotic. I'm going to go over and I'm going to try to do something about a couple different species of crocodilians for the species spotlights and be able to have good, nice video for everyone to check those out as well. And it's just been absolutely nuts dealing with this, as well as dealing with trying to essentially be a small hobby farm as well, where we have a small group of livestock and ducks and things like that we've also been trying to deal with back and forth, as well as a lot of other crazy personal things that have happened throughout the year between stuff going on with our dogs, because we have livestock guarding dogs. My partner broke her ankle right at Tinley too. Like, we were in Chicago and she broke her ankle the Friday of Tinley for the VIP that we were going to. So that was a whole other thing that threw kind of a wrench in things plans, as well as I was trying to actually consolidate money and trying to really minimize spending. But this year I ended up adding a lot more animals to the collection than I really had intended, because I really don't like to add tons and tons of animals, because number one, it's just a recipe for a zoonotic disease nightmare. So, we all know that I very, very much stress quarantine practices, and I even had a whole separate building for quarantine. So there was an extra added layer of physical barrier for quarantine. But this year I was just approached multiple times about small collections, like, hey, I'm getting rid of these 5 snakes. Hey, this really cool project. Hey, this pair and extra, this trio. And so that happened quite a bit this year. So we ended up adding a small collection of fairly high-end boas. We ended up adding a pair of adult high white Ocean County from New Jersey northern pine snakes, and our trio of blackheads. Black-headed pythons, not blackhead ball pythons. I've done that to 4 people at this point. And it just kind of built a little bit from there. So as much as I did try to do my best to limit that amount, I did end up acquiring a few more snakes than I honestly would have liked. But hey, I've always tried to be very transparent with everybody, and I think I only made 4 or 5 videos about it, but you saw that it was very spread out, where they were kept in quarantine for months and months, because that's the correct thing to do, is to keep them in quarantine and monitor their health, to do any sort of testing that you feel that you should do, which I absolutely do advocate for, and things like that. And then to kind of tail end this out, as we all know, I usually do like the Reptile Expos and stuff like that, because I don't do a whole lot of shipping via Morph Market or anything like that. Not to say that I won't do it, I just don't really do it a whole lot. I've never had any issues going on as far as like reptile sales or meeting people to do trades and things like that. And this year, because of the move, I had very great success. I think we paired 19 animals, including our rhino rat snakes, and I think 16 went in total. But other than the rhino rats that I didn't even realize took, they all went very late. So most people are having their ball pythons, and you can breed ball pythons all year round. But most people try to time their season for eggs being on the ground in spring. So that way by summer, you're having ball pythons that are ready to go from summer into early fall. This year, most of them didn't start hatching until October. So I'm sitting on quite a few babies right now when there aren't a whole lot of expos, and shipping is really out of the question just because of temps. And so I tried to go to a couple out-of-state expos, one in Austin, and then quite literally the following week into Houston. When I got home Monday morning, and then Tuesday night, I called the guy from Reptile Nation, and I said, hey, it's last minute, can you fit me in? And he found a spot for me, so I ended up driving back to Texas, another 16, 17-hour drive to Houston by myself, and did the Reptile Nation Expo, which was the largest expo that I've ever vended. Did a whole video on that too. But, just kind of the way that the reptile hobby works, and right now, how everyone is kind of viewing things economically. There's not a whole lot of spending for stuff going on with reptiles right now. And that's not to scare anybody or to say that we should absolutely give up. That's part of being a breeder, is that if you're going to produce animals, you have to be prepared to hold on to them for a very long period of time sometimes. And so I have no problems doing that. And that was just kind of an interesting, eye-opening thing that allowed me to not only have a better working relationship with a couple people here in Colorado, but allowed me to meet a bunch of other really cool people down in Texas. And in fact, it was really fun, really funny because, if you're on the expo circuit or you do a lot of the shows in your area, you get to meet a lot of your local reptile breeders. And going to the Houston show the next week, I ended up seeing a bunch of people that I met in Austin, both as vendors, but a couple people who actually drove from Austin to Houston, which is a pretty good distance in all honesty. So that was really interesting to see too, and to just kind of see still if there was any differences between the Colorado community and the Texas community, which is ball python still reigns supreme regardless of what all the reptile people say. And that everyone wants hognose right now. It's a thing here in Colorado. We can't really have hognose. But in Texas, because it's just it's the new fad. And even though you're allowed to have them in Texas, a bunch of people were selling them. I think the price on them is just really high right now. And so everyone was just asking, hey, number one, do you have venomous? No, I don't have any venomous. And then two was hognose. It was really silly to kind of to watch that, to see they're obviously very prolific, they're very popular, you can have them anywhere in Texas, and then the people still are just asking. And I think a couple people actually had them nothing but, and I think they sold out the first day, and everyone else just kind of stagnated a little bit, unfortunately. But I'm not going to take that as just I'm done with it, never doing Texas again, I'm done with expos, that's kind of a thing. You should take them as they come and as having a learning experience. At this point, I'm rambling a bit, so I'm going to wrap it up now because I said I was going to try to keep this one to be a shorter video, so I apologize for that. But that being said, this year, definitely different from the past couple. This really had to do with just kind of restructuring because of the move, which was the first, third of the year was moving and getting everything set up. And I'm still working on infrastructure. I'm still moving stuff around. I'm acquiring some new racks, so that way my grow out ball pythons will have 41 quart racks instead of the smaller 28 or 32 quarts. So my adults will be moving to the larger ones, and I'm making room for the larger racks and making room for, larger enclosures. And I've gotten to work with a couple really cool cage builders here in Colorado, and hopefully I'll be having a bunch of really cool stuff from them here. And we're working on that, and I'll be pushing more reptile education content, as well as, I know I've brought it up a couple times, but this is probably not going to be a high volume video, but I'm going to continuously re-put it out there. So I'm really pushing to grow the channel, to grow our community. So at 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to do a full property walk tour. So this whole building that I haven't really shown off too much, since essentially I got everything moved down here back in spring. And then so that also includes, you know, the cool weather gecko room that I've showed off in a couple of the more popular videos. I've downsized a lot of those smaller cages, and I have larger cages for them, and I have more Asian rat snakes, so I'm going to show that off. I'm going to show off my outdoor pond, where I have a really cool little outdoor pond that runs all year round, even in, you know, below 20-degree weather that I have, as well as the little outdoor pastures that I have for my little goats and the ducks and everything like that, so you can see everything. And then if we can hit 10,000 by the end of the year, so by December 31st, 2023, or heck, even if we hit it before then, if we hit 10,000 subscribers, because by that point it'll be too cold to do shipping, I'll do an actual animal giveaway. I'll pick one of the ball pythons that either was a holdback from this year or from some of the really cool pairings that I'm hoping to hit this next year, because I started pairing early this year for some of them if they were ready, and I've already gotten quite a few good locks. Blackheads are still messing with me. That I'll do an actual animal giveaway. We'll do like a little lottery thing for everyone to put in their names, and we'll do a little lottery. And whoever wins that will get an animal giveaway if we hit 10,000 subscribers. So tell all your friends. I hope you guys enjoy the content. Sorry, this is a more ranty video. It'll be fun making all the little clips for this one to show off some really cool stuff. Hope everyone has had at least an okay year. I totally understand. You can't really say that it's how things are going, because we know how things are going. But I hope everyone made it through, and then this next coming year is going to be onwards and upwards. You know, just always I try to be optimistic, but realism is where I'm at for sure, and I'm going to be realistically trying to build up this community, build up the reptile hobby, and push us forward in the future for everybody in general. So again, hope everyone had a great year. Can't wait to look forward to building this and talking to everyone next year and going forward. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll check you next time.